So on front row is Neil Pearson getting a great qualifying run in there. In second place, we have Edward Foster with Hamish Gallagher in third. Fourth is Jason Martin with Josh Micklemore in fifth. Sixth is Danny G. Those Mitch Motorsport boys have locked out those positions there. Three of all their cars up there with Joshua Carroll in seventh, Andrew Dyson in eighth, with Stephen Williams in ninth. We have Michael Scarlett 10th with Ryan Jones 11th. 12th is Barry Neal with James Robbie in 13th. 14th is Adam Rosell with Luke Traher 15th. 16th is Philip Worley with Riley Curtis next to him. 18th is David Stockton with Norman Clark next to him. 20th we have Anastakis with Wellman. 22nd and 23rd we have Phil Otto and Dwayne Priest. 24th, 25th we have Mirko Dortnak with Matty Raymond. Expect to see a big move from Matty Raymond tonight. We often see that from him. 26th, 27th we have Scott Griffiths and Greg Spencer there. 28th and 29th is Paul Jackson and Justin Witcher, and at the back we have Ruben Phelps, another one of those drivers that we'll probably expect to see come up the field a little bit. We've seen some good things from Ruben, but way down there the back of the grid for this one, but it just means he's got more places to improve to.
Yeah, I think he's probably the only one that's a little bit out of position. We've got a bit more of a traditional front top 10 up there with a lot of quick guys that we normally see up there, so it's a bit different to what we've been seeing the last few weeks with some of those guys all out of position, but it's definitely good to see. Good to see the back to form again and some good racing out of the big teams.
And who's going to be your driver to look out for tonight, Lockie?
I reckon you want to watch the Mitch boys, Micklemore and Martin, and especially probably Danny G there. I seriously feel like those 3 or 4 Mitch cars are going to be quite quick, being that they're all up there and they can all work together.
Yeah, I was going to say, watch out for Danny G. Mitch Motorsport have had a very good couple of days, and I'd say look out for Josh Micklemore in second. So hopefully they can make it home well. But Neil Pearson's going to lead away. Pace car has come in. It's going to be his prerogative. He puts his foot down, gets a good jump over the rest of the field, gets a really good launch away there. Neil Pearson getting away beautifully at the start.
Yeah, unfortunate for Ed, he's just got a little bit caught out there. He's going to drop 2 or 3 positions here, but he'll regroup and he'll level his head. He's a smart driver there. Still a bit of action back in the pack, 2 or 3 wide. Hopefully they can all get through nice and clean and we can get a good start to the race.
Yeah, that's it. It's all about getting through and keeping the car clean in these early stages of the race. We've got 200 laps here at Dover tonight, so a long way to go still. There's no point in wrecking the car too early because you're just going to make it a lot harder for yourself. But of course, you don't want to be caught up right next to everybody as well. You want to get a fairly nice position out of there. But we've got Hamish Gallagher starting to catch on Neil Pearson right now, so he's going to try and start putting pressure on the leader. We saw a really good run from Hamish last night in the Thunder Series as well, so expect him to go well here. They've all had a little bit of a practice run, of course, out in the Xfinity trucks, but they are a very different beast to these Cup cars, of course. Much less power, much less downforce, and very, very different car to drive. Yeah,
definitely. I'd be worried about those Xfinity trucks out there last night, Carl, but I definitely know the Xfinity cars was a good race to watch last night. But those who had a run last night will definitely have the upper hand coming in here, especially with a bit of knowledge of how the track's going to drive.
Ryan Jones getting caught a little bit from Joshua Carroll Walden there. JCW gets loose mid-corner. I think he just caught the apron a little bit and just gave Jones a little bit of a nudge up to the barrier there. They've both managed to keep it going, but that was almost a caution.
And I think Ryan Jones has got a little bit of damage there, so that's really going to hurt his pace tonight. And same with JCW. Watch those two to fall back a bit here. I think they've damaged the cars quite badly.
That's it. Definitely a lot of damage on the front left of Ryan Jones, and that's going to hurt a bit. Obviously, you can also get a damage to the cooling of the car, and we did hear, I actually spoke to a few drivers before the start of this race, and they said the cars were running a bit hot tonight, so you do not want any damage on the front of this car if you can avoid it.
Yeah, that's good. That's a bit of a worrying sign for those running well deep in the track as well.
The car going round. Ryan Jones into Damon Stockton there by the looks of it. So those two getting caught up there. So we'll jump to the replay on this one. So as you can see, Damon Stockton there. I think we're on the wrong DPR car.
That's a bit of a shame there for Ryan Jones because I believe Stockton was actually about a lap down. So
yeah, Stockton was down the lap there, and yeah, just having a bit of a watch of it. Again, it's just, they've just caught up, and Jones has just touched the back of Stockton there.
Yeah.
But
It's a tight one, but it looks like Jones has just drifted up with a little bit of understeer in the mid-corner. Don't think it was deliberate, but it's certainly, I'd say the blame's a little bit on Jones there for that one.
yeah, that's it. That car was just losing it a little bit, and sort of Stockton was coming down a little bit towards the start of the corner as well. So a bit close to cool at the moment, unfortunately, but not the start of the race Ryan Jones will have wanted, I'm sure of that.
Be interesting to see here if anyone comes down pit road other than those that were involved in the caution, because we are limited to tyres, and it is going to be very tight on the end of the race with the rubber left.
James Robbie into pit lane as well. A couple of cars coming down the road. I think they'll just come in for fuel, if anything, just top it up a little bit, because fuel's not going to be a big issue here tonight. I think they can make it almost on a tank, so it might just be topping up a little bit of fuel just in case, just to make it a little bit easier. Just keep an eye on James Robbie and just see if he did change tyres at all.
That's got a little bit of damage, Robbie, so maybe he's come down to get that repaired as well. I'm tipping that Ryan Jones has come down to get a bit of damage repaired, as also looking at the fact that he's straightened out his left front fender a little bit more as well.
Yeah, they've been busy with the old hammers at the front of that car. The eye hammer has been busy on the front of the 111 there of Ryan Jones and gotten that car into a little bit better shape. And that's, of course, getting that little bit of aero damage fixed is a good thing, but of course the worry comes as if there's damage to the suspension and stuff like that. That's not as quick to fix, of course.
No, definitely, and that's when you start looking at sort of upwards of 1-2 minutes. I think, as you mentioned before, though, I think the cooling's probably a bit more of a concern for a few guys.
Yeah, it's not a huge air temperature out there tonight, 22 Celsius. Track temperature is 42 degrees, but every little bit of temperature does make a difference. And of course, on a track like Dover as well, it's very enclosed. There's not much room for air to escape, of course. So it can get quite warm around there. So expect to see, as I say, expect to see a few cars, if they get some damage on the front, to be struggling a little bit and maybe just having to lift off a tiny bit just to keep that car a little bit cooler.
Yeah, definitely. As we sort of move back towards the restart here, it'll be interesting to see how Gallagher goes up on the outside, because we saw that Ed Foster really struggled on the restart and got almost mauled off by the guys on the second row. So it'll be interesting to see whether the Mitch guys try and help each other out there, or if Gallagher's going to get hurt here.
Yeah, we'll see how that one works out. I sort of just wondered a little bit if maybe Foster was just going a bit easy on that restart as well, just trying not to spin up those rear tyres to keep them a little bit fresher as well. Just being very gentle on the accelerator rather than pressing it down too hard, which could be a bit of an option on these starts, but you don't want to lose too much time and too much gap over the leader, of course.
I'm not so sure about on the start, but I definitely think this restart you'll see a lot of guys taking it quite gingerly, with the fact that they've got a bit of lap on the tyres, bit of wear into them. A few cars, as we saw, starting to slide around a bit. So you might see, we may even see someone make a mistake off this restart. So we watch this space here.
Yeah, we saw that a couple of times at Darlington last time out, of course, and these short tracks, and when you've got tyre wear and things like that, it does make it very hard to start these cars, because they've got a ridiculous amount of horsepower underneath them, haven't they? They're about, it's like 750, 800 horsepower, something silly like that, isn't it?
I believe around here, yeah, they've got the low downforce package, so they would have about 750 horsepower.
There's a lot of ponies to get through those rear tyres, of course, and it's very easy to spin them up when you put your foot down too hard. And when you're lacking that little bit of traction, a little bit of grip on those rear tyres, it's very easy to lose the rear end. I mean, it looks really silly when you do it, of course, and you feel a bit like an idiot when it happens to you, but it's an easier thing done than you would expect. But no, Neil Pearson's going to be able to lead us off here. So once again, he's holding back. When's he going to drop the hammer? He does it now, gets a good start there, manages to get a good leap over the other drivers. Hamish Gallagher's managed to keep up a little bit closer this time than Foster did at the start. So Hamish Gallagher's going to have a little less gap than he did last time. So it gives him the opportunity to start chasing him down. Jason Martin gets caught up a little bit high on that restart. He's going to have to try and work his way down to that lower groove, but everybody away safely for the moment.
I think Jason Martin was the only loser out of the top 6 there. He fell back a little bit, and I believe the rest are all status quo for most of the top 10. So good restart for most, unfortunate for Martin, but he, being a wise head like him, he'll be able to recover eventually anyway.
Yeah, So just getting caught a bit high there, and it just pushed him down a little bit. Hamish Gallagher's now starting to apply the pressure to Neil Pearson up the front. DPR car that's got the Mitch Motorsport car right behind him, and you can see Gallagher just starting to really push up, and he's going to try and get that low line. He's got his nose underneath Pearson right there, and he makes the move.
Yeah, but I reckon you'll see a lot of those tonight. If you can get underneath them into 1 and 2, there's not a lot they can do in terms of defending. So as we've just seen there with Hamish getting underneath Neil Pearson, yeah, you just got to get that nose in, and then there's not a lot the other person can do to deal with it.
Now we've got a bit of a move behind as well with Skurlock and Dyson. Dyson making the move as well on Jason Martin, who got caught up high. And you can just see how much time you lose when you get up there. Of course, it's not too bad in these early stages of the race, but as it goes longer, you're going to get more and more discarded rubber up there. You're going to get the what we call the marbles up there, those little bits of rubber that sit on the outside line and make it even more slippery.
I wonder if Martin's just trying to look after the car a bit here, because he's lost about three spots off that start and about 4 off from the original start. So wouldn't surprise me if he's just looking after the rubber a bit here and then hoping to play the longer game.
As Skurlock makes another move, he's just got underneath Danny G, who's got caught up high, and he's going to get caught behind James Robbie, I think it is. Just going down a lap or two. He's down 3 laps now, I think. Just coming in earlier just to get those repairs done. And he keeps the car well out of the way, but Danny G got very close to the wall there as his teammate gets underneath him. And just behind them, Andrew Dyson, Stephen Williams, Stevie Dubbett is looking at making the move as well. He's got Joshua Walden right behind him, with Barry Neal as well up there in 11th place at the moment.
Looks like it's starting to settle down a little bit as we're getting a bit more of a single file line. Everyone's working out where their pace is at the moment, how hard they want to push on the tyres. Looks like Skurlock's got quite a bit of pace at the moment as he's starting to make moves on Ed Foster there as well.
Yeah, he seems to be getting that car back onto his liking, but Skurlock is sort of just charging it a little bit. He's putting that early Skurlock move in there, and we've seen he's had some, as always with Skurlock, great pace in there, but you don't want to push too hard too early sometimes, because you can just absolutely boil those tyres off and cause a little bit of an issue. There's a massive fight going on a little bit further back in the pack, with Gary Wellman defending against Ruben Phelps. At the moment, Ruben Phelps making a good move now and working his way up the field. I told you, watch out for Ruben. He's made 12 positions. He's up into 18th at the moment, so a good start from Phelps. He's got Mirko Dortnak in front of him as well, who's also doing a good push up the field. He's made 7 positions in this race so far. Definitely having a good start to the race, those guys.
Watch for Ryan Jones here. I believe he would have taken tyres in that last stop as well after his damage, so he's going to have about 10 laps on everyone else here, but that could come back to bite him later in the race if we get another caution at a crucial point late in the race.
Yeah, that's it. Those fresh tyres will, of course, have that little bit more pace and just be that little bit nicer to drive on, a little bit stickier, of course, and just give you that a little bit more edge. But he does have some damage to the car, and that, of course, is going to affect him a little bit. So that might just take away a little bit of the pace advantage that he would have had, but he has got some good exit pace. You can see just on the exit of the corner, he's able to get his foot down a little bit quicker than some of those other guys. A little bit more adhesion on those tyres, a little bit more grip, and that's helping him get out of the corners just a little bit quicker.
I don't think he's going to be able to do much up on that high line, though. I think he's definitely going to want to try and get under Ruben at some point here. But because Mirko's just causing a few issues.
As Mirko does catch the wall.
Oops, I think I mentioned Mirko's name too quickly there.
You've done your first curse on the commentators tonight. But yeah, just Mirko getting caught up in the wall there, unfortunately, and that just going to hurt him a bit. Quite a lot of damage to the front of that car as well, and that's the thing that we're talking about with the speed of this place too. High speeds here, but up the front we've got a battle going on between Josh Micklemore and Michael Skurlock. Skurlock working his way past Foster and now trying to get up into P3. So not such good news for his teammate Mirko Dortnak, but Michael Skurlock is making this Crank Esports car work for him at the moment.
I believe Pearson's actually pulled back onto the back of Gallagher as well, and he's starting to put a bit of pressure on. So we might see a change for the lead here soon.
Yeah, Pearson that last time round, fastest guy on the track, so he's definitely got some speed in that car, but they're sort of swapping fastest times at the moment out there. Hamish Gallagher and Neil Pearson, those two are both flying at the moment, getting some good pace into the car. Hamish Gallagher just makes a tiny bit of contact with the wall.
You want to hope that hasn't done too much damage. He might have got away with a lucky sort of netcode rub, but it looks like he's got a little bit of a bend on the right front actually, so that could be why he's fallen back into the grasp of Neil Pearson here.
Yeah, just that bit of damage on there is just going to hurt him a little bit, but just behind him you can see Skurlock, as we ride on board with him, you can see him right underneath the rear bumper of Josh Micklemore at the moment, and really starting to apply the pressure there.
Looks like it's a little bit difficult to overtake at the moment. Maybe the tyres have just worn off enough that it's not quite at that crossover point for those that have looked after the rubber.
Yeah, we talk about that quite a bit, the plateauing of times and things like that, as it just falls off a little bit and starts to creep back. As Skurlock is making the move right now. He's making that move on on Micklemore, and he makes the move stick, gets underneath Josh Micklemore there and gets past nice and clean. Good job from Skurlock.
Yeah, it'll be a bit of a judgment call to see if he can now pull onto the back of Pearson and Gallagher, who have been blisteringly setting laps out there. Hopefully he can pull up and we can get a 3-car battle for the lead, but we'll have to wait and see here.
Yeah, we'll see how this goes. A little bit further back, you can see Ryan Jones there. He's just got past Parianastakis there and just working his way up. He's up into 16th position now, I believe. So he's working his way back up the field, doing a good job of working his way back up there. He's just behind Ruben Phelps, who's got a nice bit of a gap as well. So doing a good job at the moment. And we jump back as well to Dwayne Priest, who's just getting passed by Maddie Raymond. Mr. Sheen, Mr. Clean, Matty Raymond doing another good job and working his way up the field. It seems to be the thing with Matty Raymond, just struggling a bit with qualifying pace, but doing a great job in overall race pace. As Phil Otto is coming into pit lane, he's got some damage on him. He's had a bit of contact with one of the Activity Hub Barley cars, has gone up to him. That was Greg Spencer, I believe. So Greg Spencer getting caught up. So really big impact there. Looks like Spencer's just lost it up into Phil Otto, and a big impact there. They both managed to keep it going in a straight line, but a lot of damage on both of those cars. It looks like their night might be effectively over.
Yeah, and it's unfortunate because I believe Spencer was actually a lap down as well, so he's gone into Otto and they've both lost it there, and they're both now sitting in the pits waiting for some damage.
Yeah, of course, passing lapped cars is not always an easy thing on ovals, because you don't have to let them through. You can race those positions. And speaking of racing positions, at the moment, Edward Foster has got Andrew Dyson all over the back of him like a rash. He is really having the pressure applied to him right now. Foster just keeping that car on that slightly lower to mid-line just to keep Dyson behind him, just try and force Dyson to have to go take that slightly higher line. But if Dyson can get his nose underneath Foster, he's going to get the position. And it looks like he's got it done this time round. Dyson underneath Foster as they come out the corner side by side, so very close to each other. Just a cigarette paper separating them. But this is going to be Dyson's opportunity, and this is going to give Jason Martin the chance as well behind him. Foster needs to come down and get Martin blocked off, but he can't do it. Martin's going to get past as well. Will Danny G have the opportunity too? He's going to try and get past as well, and just behind Foster, as Foster is caught out on that high line and just hemorrhaging time at the moment.
It's the old steam train effect. You just get freight trains stuck off on the high line. Clearly, it's not quite to the point where the cars need to be diamonding it yet, but poor Foster really copped that one hard.
Yeah, he has managed to get back in front of Danny G, so he's just managed to slot that car in between the two teammates. So I'm not sure if there might be a tiniest bit of contact between those two.
I believe Danny just got a little bit loose in the middle of two, and that's how Ed managed to just get the overlap back in front.
Yeah, it did get very close, and Danny G just lifting off that throttle and just allowing Foster to slide back in there, scratching the better part of Valor there and just not causing the incident. Just a little bit further back, Riley Curtis having a very close moment with Ruben Phelps. Riley Curtis just clipping the wall almost. He just got so close to the wall and almost caught Ruben, and that's allowed Ruben and Ryan Jones to get past him, and Riley Curtis has lost a lot of speed from that, a lot of momentum, of course, and when you lose momentum at a place like this, all of a sudden you find a lot of cars getting past you.
Yeah, it's with the high speeds, it kills you. Losing that momentum, hitting that wall is far more detrimental than the damage it does.
Yeah, Riley just managed to pull the car up before he touched the wall, but the sort of braking and lifting off the throttle is really cost him a lot of time there. I was starting to notice a lot of cars now starting to get very loose at the rear as well, so a lot of cars are starting to struggle as these laps go on, so it's starting to get a little bit tricky out there for those guys.
And I believe Hamish is still leading at the moment, so he's done a good job of holding off the charge from Neil Pearson. But I wonder if there's a lap car there with some fresh tyres, Phil Otto, so it'd be interesting to see what that does to this dynamic of the leaders.
Yeah, of course, Phil Otto and Neil Pearson teammates as well, so if Phil Otto can start applying a little bit of pressure up the front and just get past Gallagher, it could come and play a little bit of team play, a little bit of helping out a teammate here and there, but in all honesty, I think Phil's just going to go flying because he wants to just get those laps back. You can see he just goes underneath Hamish Gallagher there. Gallagher's just let him through and managed to do it at a spot where he's not going to lose too much time, so he didn't lose too much to Neil Pearson there. It worked out quite well for Gallagher. He kept the car in a good line, and Phil Otto's just gone charging off in front of them.
Now, Otto, unfortunately, about 5 laps down, but he's back out there and he's still running, so that's the key thing. He can pick up a few points and hopefully stake his claim on a later race in the year.
And as I said, getting a bit unlucky there, Phil, with Greg Spencer, unfortunately, but he's back out there. He's 5 laps down now instead of 6 laps down, which he would have been. So that's better than being 6 laps down.
Definitely, and being that he's got 40 lap fresher tyres, he might even be able to go back and get another lap back eventually, but we'll have to wait and see.
And what this does, of course, is give some good information to those guys out there of what the fresher tyre pace is like, of course, because you sort of get an idea as they go around and you sort of see people coming in. At the moment, I was just watching up front, and Gallagher is starting to do that diamond drive through the corners, while Neil Pearson behind him is taking a much tighter line. But you can just see, just watching Pearson, and his rears are starting to get a little bit hot, I'd say, because he's starting to get a little bit loose on the exit of the corner. That back end is starting to step out a little bit more.
And the thing with the diamond drive is it does a couple of things. It takes the wear off the right front so you're not drifting towards the exit of the corner. Plus it squares up the exit of the corner, which allows it a little bit less oversteering, a little bit less of a... you're not using the rear up as much either. It's very good on the tyres all round.
Yeah,
you see a lot of them start to shift to that sort of racing line. I think even Pearson is starting to do it a little bit, just a bit more subtle than Gallagher, who's...
We've got a caution. Oh, Scott Griffiths is around. Big moment for Griffiths. He's gone really spinning around. I think it was him and Dwayne Priest, unfortunately. Dwayne Priest got caught up in that. And very close to Norman Clark. He made his way through that and survived that one by the skin of his teeth. But yeah, unfortunately, Scott Griffiths was not so lucky in that one. You can see going around and big impact on the car.
Yeah, and that's unfortunate. That is a very nicely well-presented car, the Mobil 1 Camry there. And not really his fault at all. I think Priest has got the wall, so it's a shame for Scott, who was just hoping to get a clean race in. So hopefully he can get back out there and still pick some points up, because I believe he's only sitting about 12th or 13th in the points.
Yeah, it's all important for the points, isn't it? Now it's like keeping the momentum going, keeping those points going, and just keeping a good result to the end, as everybody is using this to come into pit lane on lap 46. So they're all coming down pit road, and this is not going to be enough to give them a two-stopper to, well, sort of going to make it hard to make it.
2 pit stops to the end here, I believe, is what you're trying to get at there, Carl.
So yeah, they're going to have to make an extra stop, but it's going to be nice for them to get those tyres off, I imagine.
Well, I believe it's actually going to be. It could be a one-stop if you stretch the tyres out to about 80 laps, but it's going to be tight because I believe the tyre wear was about sort of you're pushing a blowout around about that lap 77, 78 mark. So it's going to be tight, but a lot of them will try and stretch it out for a one-stop because it'll be a lot quicker than taking 2 pits.
I'll tell you who had a good pit stop is Michael Skurlock. Skurlock getting out there ahead of Neil Pearson, I believe. So, Skurlock just getting himself up into second position there.
Yeah, I believe JCW's had quite the pit stop as well there.
Yeah, JCW having an absolutely mega stop. I'm just going to go back and actually have a look at that because he was only stationary for about 8.3 seconds. So I don't...
2 tyres.
Yeah.
I just had a watch. He's only taken right sides there.
So he's rolling the dice a little bit. He's taking that gamble. So that's going to be interesting to see how JCW does with this stop. And it's going to get him track position. So that's going to be an interesting one.
Yeah, maybe it'll work. I mean, it's well worth it if you can pull it off. It's well worth trying it. But it is definitely a gamble. Definitely considering we've got such a long stint on this next set.
Yeah, that's it. It's a long time. And we did see last night in the Thunder Series, actually, that we had a couple of blowouts towards the end of the race. So it is something you've got to keep in mind. We haven't seen too many tyre failures throughout the season, but they are something that has been in iRacing for quite some time now, but it's something you do have to keep an eye on, and it's something that can be very, very dangerous.
If we go back to this race last year, actually, I believe it was Michael Skurlock, the eventual winner, had a blowout in the first 60 laps of the race. So it can happen if you're not careful, but at the same time, as Skurlock showed, a bit of determination, you can still go on and win it.
Yeah, but that's Skurly. I mean, he seems to have the luck of every nation in the universe on his side sometimes, Skurly. But that's also, he's got a lot of speed underneath him as well. He's one of those drivers that really puts it in. I know a lot of these drivers put in time and effort, of course, but Skurly is a bit of a beast in that respect. He is an absolute monster at sort of setting metronomic lap times and just keeping it right on the edge.
Yeah. He's a bit of a freak of nature, one might say.
That's it. I mean, I sort of, obviously a big Formula One fan, but he sort of has that old Fernando Alonso style of just managing just to keep the car going no matter what. And you just go, how are you doing that? It doesn't make any sense right now. You shouldn't be able to do this. But he does keep it going as the pace lights
where it shouldn't be.
Exactly. It just, he does have that ability, and you see some of the lines he takes, and you just go, that wouldn't work. That's not going to work. How is that working? But the pace lights have gone out, so we're going to go back to green here on lap 49. So we've got 150 laps remaining once they go over the line. So we have made a quarter of this race so far, so still quite a few laps to go.
Not a lot of people, and the other thing about that being a shorter stint, no one's really going to know what the tyres are going to do towards the end of it. So it's going to be really interesting as we come around to the end of this next stint.
If we get a long green stint here, it's going to make things different. Hamish Gallagher's going to lead away. He's got prerogative right now. When's he going to drop the loud pedal? He does it. Gets a good start right there. Skurlock gets caught a little bit napping, but he's going to get a good drive off the high line. Is he going to be able to keep Neil Pearson in behind him? Doesn't look like it as he gets caught up a little bit high. This will give him a little bit more momentum off the corner. If he can get better drive, it's going to work.
JCW's gone round. There's a bit of contact there. I think JCW got a little bit loose on 2 tyres and he just got pushed round. Quite a bit of damage to a lot of cars there.
Big impact there, and it looks like Andrew Dyson got caught there. Well, the driver that was probably luckiest at the start of that was his teammate Edward Foster. You can see Foster just missing that. I think Foster just got through that. He did go down to the wall, he just caught the wall with the back end, so not that lucky, but a lot of cars caught up in that. That was a big incident there.
Yeah, quite a lot of damage to a lot of cars, and I believe, a few big names have got quite the damage now.
Well,
poor old Stevie Dubs missing the front of his car, and I think Adam Razell got cleaned up in it as well.
Yeah, a lot of drivers getting really cleaned up. Adam Rosell, yeah, he just tried to get the brakes on, could not get it working at all. And yeah, that was a big, big impact for a lot of drivers. So on board here with Rosell, you can just see his back end's getting loose and he just goes straight into JCW there. Nowhere to go, T-boned him, and really nothing he could do in that situation.
Yeah. I think it was just JCW got a little bit loose, and then he just got helped around by that other DPR car there. I didn't quite catch who it was, and
that
unfortunate incident. But when everyone's concertinaed and close together like that, you're going to get a bit of a snowball effect throughout the pack.
That's it, and you did point it out, Lockie. It was a bit of a risk taking those two tyres, and it did not pay off for the 35 tonight.
Definitely, and he'll get back out there. He'll keep the car rolling, but it's hurt him and definitely compromised for the rest of the race.
Yeah, that's it. A few drivers doing some really good pulling up there and just managing to hit the brakes in time and actually get it stopped as well, because. Yeah, it's very tricky sometimes with getting these cars stopped, of course, because they are just so very, they're quite heavy vehicles as well, and they don't really have the biggest brake discs in the world.
No, I think quite small brakes on them, so as you say, it's difficult to get it pulled up. The biggest worry for Foster there is that it's got quite a bit of damage on the actual front section of the nose, and it could have caused a bit of cooling damage as well.
Yeah, that's it. His his left front has got quite a bit of damage to it. Not nearly as much as Stephen Williams, but that's that might help a little bit for cooling, because there's going to be a lot more air going in there. But the radiator could be a little bit damaged from that impact. But yeah, a lot of cars with very beaten up noses out there now. Adam Rosell keeping it out there as well. Mirko Dorton had quite a lot of damage to that car. He's managed to keep it going. Scott Griffith's still in the pit lane. From that earlier instance, so I think we're going to lose a few cars out there. But as we were talking about earlier in the race with heating issues, if there is overheating trouble out there, anyone with damage to the front of their car is going to be at serious risk tonight.
I believe the only car we actually lost from that is Philip Worley, who drove straight into the back of one of his teammates.
Yeah, surprisingly, in all honesty, because there were so many cars caught up in that, but I think a lot of them managed to sort of slow down and lessen the impact, or just managed to sort of keep it relatively safe, despite missing a few bits of bodywork.
One thing that this does help is actually Scott Griffiths is only one lap down still from that. Because of the caution coming out immediately, he's able to get all his required damage fixed and come back out. Only one down, and he could well get the lucky dog if we get another caution. Yeah,
that's a really good point, actually, because, you know, being the first car a lap down is always a nice place to be when things like that happen, and it can come back to pay a little bit better in the championship, of course, because it's all about those points, and you know, a lot of points paying all the way down, of course, in NASCAR racing and oval racing. It's not just the top 10 that score points. There are points all the way across the field, and the higher you finish, the more points you get, of course. So even if you can get it home inside the top 20, that's going to be more points to the end of the season than you would normally get. So it's always important to keep going and keep it out there. And it's the thing of just never giving up, isn't it, really?
Yeah, lights out on the pace car here as well as we start to head towards turn 3 and 4. A lot of cars with damage about 3 or 4 rows back, so I wonder if this is going to sort of segregate that lead pack a little bit more from the rest of the field here.
Yeah, this could really help out that top 6. Just get a good pull away. Foster, the first car with damage. So pace cars come in, and Gallagher is going to lead it away. When's he going to put the pedal down? He puts it down now, gets a okay start. Neil Pearson manages to get a very good start on the high end and is keeping up relatively well. You can see a little bit further back, a couple of cars just dropping off with pace. I think Stephen Williams just falling back at the moment, just losing quite a bit of time. But the front pack have pulled away, and they've done a good job.
Yeah, I think that was always going to happen. That was a lot of damage to the front of that car. I've been optimistic from Stephen to try and keep it out there, but he's definitely going to fall back here, and he may even lose laps at the end of this race.
That's hard thing as Neil Pearson makes the move on Hamish Gallagher early in this run. He's going to make that move stick and gets the lead of this race. He's going to get in front of Gallagher and push Gallagher up high right here. This could be costly for Gallagher because his teammate is right underneath him at the moment with Skurlock right on the back of him. You can just see there he slices down in front of Josh Micklemore there, just trying to get that position saved, but can't do it. He's falling up high again. Micklemore's going to get that position in front of him, and will Skurlock be able to get there too? Gallagher places the car in front of him, manages to hold him back for now.
That could have been really bad, because if Skurlock got underneath him, there was nothing stopping Jason Martin as well. So well driven just to sort of stop the bleeding there from Gallagher, and he'll definitely want to start moving forward because he's got some good pace once the tyres kick in.
Flipping down a little bit in 8th place, we've got Ryan Jones back up in the top 10. He's just getting past Barry Neal at the moment, so Ryan Jones on an absolute flyer at the moment, making hay while the sun shines, and using up those tyres quite quickly, but making his way up the field once more, Ryan Jones.
Yeah, and he's certainly making the most of his strategy. Unfortunately, though, he is one set of tyres down from the rest of the field, though, so it's going to be interesting to see how he goes towards the end of the race. If we get a caution really late with sort of 10 to go, I think he's going to get hurt out of that. But if we don't, then he's made the right strategy call.
That's it. A lot of gambling involved, of course, as Skurlock trying to get down on the inside of Gallagher just once more. Doesn't quite make it this time. Will he make it in the next couple of corners? Gallagher just looks to be struggling at this early stage of this restart, just not quite getting the car where he wants it to be. As, just behind him, Andrew Dyson's engine has gone. We were talking about that earlier on, but engines have been an issue in practice, and Andrew Dyson has lost his engine. So I just noticed that out of the corner of my eye. Saw his engine go pop. He's managed to get down on the infield and get that car towards pit lane, so he's just going to roll it in there, clutch it in there, and keep a caution from coming out, I think.
Yeah, and if you look at the front of that car, you can understand why. There's quite a bit of damage to the nose of it. So I'd be concerned for some of the other cars that are missing noses or have got nose damage now. If Dyson's popped an engine and he was up the front, what's stopping some of these guys further down the pack and bringing out cautions as well?
Yeah, quite a few cars with front damage, as we sort of talked about, and yeah, that's got to be worrying, especially for people like Foster as well. He's just having a battle with Barry Neal. But both those cars have got quite a bit of damage to the front. As Foster and Neal make a little bit of contact, fighting for 8th and 9th at the moment. So those two are really battling it out at the moment. Very, very close to getting a bit more damage, a bit more extra damage on the front of Foster's car than he would have wanted. But those two are really fighting for that position as it stands.
I don't think there was a lot of love lost there either. There might have been a little bit of contact on the way through, and Foster wasn't overly pleased with it. But as we move on, he'll get his head down and try and make the most of that damaged race car.
Speaking of damaged race cars, Ryan Jones has just tagged the wall pretty hard, just going through turns 1 and 2, and a lot of damage to the front of that car as I see a big puff of smoke from up the front.
Yeah, that's really going to hurt his pace now. As you can see, that whole right front fender's caved in. It's not going to be long before his tyres really start to die off, and he'll fall right back into the clutches of those behind.
Yeah, it's going to be really tricky for those guys. I think Greg Spencer is out there at the moment, but I think he's going to have to come in because I think his engine is about to die as well.
I believe that might have been your puff of smoke, actually, because he's going quite slowly on the inside of the track here, pulling into the pits.
Yeah, so that's strike 2 for engines tonight.
That's another one gone.
And relatively early as well. We've only done 67 laps, so we've still got a lot of laps remaining. Of course, 200 laps here at Dover, so there's a long way to go tonight. And if people are having engine issues this early in the race with those little bits of damage to the front of the car, this is really going to affect a lot of those drivers. Just a little bit further back, Riley Curtis making a good move on Parry Anastakis at the moment. Ruben Phelps just behind him as well. So those guys are battling it out for 12th, 13th and 14th positions. So a lot of battles going on the track at the moment. Up the front, it's relatively stable. They're sort of just keeping in a line at the moment. Ryan Jones is doing a good job to keep onto the back of Danny G. with that front end damage to his car, but how long can he keep that one going? Barry Neal and Edward Foster are sort of in a little pack in 8th and 9th, and then we have a bit further down Luke Trahir keeping ahead of that man that always makes positions, Maddie Raymond. Maddie Raymond, 14 positions so far tonight.
As we have a look, actually, I just noticed there's a couple more cars that are sitting in the pits repairing damage. I believe Rousel and Griffiths have also lost engines, so the death toll rises.
Yeah, the old engine manufacturers are going to be busy after this one, reprogramming.
It appears Spencer actually may have just had a drive through there because he's back out on track pretty quickly, so could have a bit of a missed call from me there. Maybe he's just had a bit of a drive through bit to deal with.
Yeah, maybe it wasn't that engine, but definitely saw some puffs of smoke out there, so somebody's got some trouble or had some trouble. And as we say, there's a few cars that are not sounding so healthy as well out there. As if you sort of, as I've been looking through them, the cars with damage, they don't sound as healthy as you'd want a race car to sound. So yeah, still a long way to go in this race. So we could be up for a few more smoke puffs in the near future. A little bit further back, we've got the battle for 8th and 9th going on. Foster still attacking Barry Neal, and we're looking at Skurlock and Hamish Gallagher right there. But Foster was just closing on Neal once more and then has had to pull off again. So I'm wondering if he's having a bit of trouble running too close to the back of Barry Neal.
Yeah, with the damage on Foster's car, he's going to struggle up in the dirty air. But it looks to me like he's just got a bit more pace than Barry over the long run here. So it might turn out that Barry's going to hurt the tyres a bit here, and Ed might find a way past soon.
Yeah, Foster trying a few different lines there as just trying to sort of put Barry Neal off kilter a little bit, taking up as much mirror as he can. Valid overtaking technique, of course. As the front pack have come up to a lapped car. I think it might be Steve Williams, just missing the front end of the DPR car, and it just caused Josh Mickelmore to run a little bit wide, and that's given Hamish Gallagher the run on him for second place.
And it's also brought Skurlock right onto the back of Gallagher again after he dropped off a little bit, so I reckon this is going to heat up here for second place soon.
Yeah, all of these guys are very hungry for wins, of course. Skurley really pushing that car underneath Gallagher, trying to get that nose underneath him. Just doesn't quite make it there this time round.
We're going to start to see a lot of cars who went a bit hard earlier, really starting to hurt on their rubber at the moment. The likes of Ryan Jones is starting to fall back as well. I think he's dropped about a second off the lead pack now. So
yeah, Ryan Jones losing that little bit of pace out there, and he's starting to struggle that a little bit, and it's a snowball effect, isn't it? As soon as you start struggling, as soon as those tyres just start falling off, it's almost like they don't get much better from there, and it just gets worse and worse and worse, and you just gets very depressing after a few laps.
Yeah. Also seeing the field really starting to string out as well. We might even see some of the more pacier cars start to fall a lap down, like Clark and Stockton and Witcher, who are starting to fall closer back to Pearson as well, which is really going to open up the lead battle.
Yeah, that's it. At the moment, Clark has just about got a straight between himself and Pearson, but it's not going to be long until that catches up. Skurlock making another look on Hamish Gallagher. He is really running that car all over the back of Gallagher's at the moment, just trying to put him off a little bit and trying to throw him off the position, as Gallagher is starting to take that more diamond line as well. So he's starting to move that car a little bit sort of into tyre saving mode, I'd say, and just trying to get a little bit more life out those tyres and trying not to take us too much time off of them while trying to keep Skurlock behind him.
Yeah, I believe he was one of the first in the first stint to go up into that diamond, and then looks like he's the first one to start doing it in this stint as well. So keep an eye on him to start to move forward as the laps move on, if he's going to start looking after rubber that way.
Yeah, that's it. And something else that's dropped off, actually, I was just watching, just jumped back to have a little look at the battle, but Foster's really dropped off the back of Barry Neal, so it looks like his car is starting to struggle a bit, but it'd struggle a bit, but also Barry Neal has just started putting the pace down as well. He's just started setting some good lap times, Barry Neal. He's setting similar pace to the actual leaders, so he might have just been tyre saving a little bit early in that stint, just to just to keep it a little bit longer and then start putting the pace on as they go a little bit longer into this stage of the race.
Definitely, and I almost wonder if the damage on Foster's car is just starting to pay dividends here as well.
Yeah, he's got a bit of a gap between himself and Trahir at the moment, who has got Matty Raymond on the back of him right now. Luke Trahir up in 10th place, the 43, having a good battle with Matty Raymond at the moment. So those two are fighting it out. As
a little bit of contact there, I believe, between Micklemore and the lap car of Damon Stockton there.
Very close, as we see JCW getting underneath. I think that might be Marco Dortnack there. So, yeah, JCW working his way back up the field after that early spin around. And, oh, he gets so close to Marco there. Very close there. Oh, manages to hold it. He manages to hold it.
That was very well driven then.
That was one heck of a save. That was almost a complete loss of a car then.
Definitely.
Stockton not making it easy for these guys to get around at the front. He's trying to keep speed up at the moment, but it's not working for him. And it's he's sort of slotted in front of Jason Martin and Danny G just then, and it just cost them a little bit of time. Just gave Barry Neal and Ryan Jones a little bit of a chance to catch back up to them. But Barry Neal is really catching close to Ryan Jones at the moment. He is setting some good pace, and I wouldn't be surprised to see Barry Neal working his way up towards people like Jason Martin and Danny G soon as well.
Yeah, he's certainly not making any friends out there, Damon Stockton, but as with oval racing, he's well entitled to fight for his position and try and stay on the lead lap there.
That is very much it. It's a big part of oval racing, and it is. The blue flags are out there to let you know that somebody's coming, but that's it, just to let you know that somebody's coming. There's no need for you to jump out the way. You don't have to completely fly off the pace and let everybody through and cost yourself positions. You can race as hard as you like and keep it going.
It's sort of getting to the point now where there's cars everywhere now, so it's hard to pick some points to watch, but definitely Pearson's done quite well in the lap traffic there. He's pulled out of quite the gap there. It's out to 2 seconds now.
Yeah, just sort of browsing as I do through the little bits and bobs. Matty Raymond's getting caught a bit by Riley Curtis as well. So looks like Matty Ray might have just done a little bit of a mistake. He just got caught up on the high line a little bit, and this has given Riley Curtis a chance to chase him down a bit. So the battle's not over for that sort of 10th position at the moment. They're still fighting away. And as I said, Barry Neal is caught right up to the back of Ryan Jones as well.
I don't think it'll be too long before Barry Neal starts to make moves on Ryan Jones. I think Jones went a little bit hard on his tyres trying to get through the field. And props to him, he's made track position and he'll probably make a net gain. But I'd have my money on Barry Neal getting through here soon.
Yeah, he's looking pretty racy, and we've seen some good speed from Barry Neal this year in the Artori Autosport Artori racing team. Get it eventually, and try and get that pronunciation right for him. I promised I'd try and get it right for him. So hopefully that's about as close as I'm going to get. Sorry, Barry.
Yeah. To Barry and Paul who own that team, I do apologise if Carlos absolutely butchered that race team name there.
Ayatawa. There we go. Thank you to Stuart up there. Pronunciation is not my strongest suit. We all know that one.
Yes, I'll have to teach you about my last name someday, Carl.
Cujo, isn't it?
Yes! Let's get back to the racing though and stop talking nonsense, as Neil Pearson's still opening that gap up. It's out to 2.2 seconds here at the moment, and looks like it's starting to settle down between Gallagher, Skurlock and Micklemore as well.
Yeah, I think the main race at the moment is Barry Neal and Ryan Jones, but you've got to say, if they weren't teammates, you'd say Jason Martin and Danny G at the moment as well. Those two are really, really close together, but they're just sort of keeping it relatively calm at the moment, keeping it relatively steady as Ryan Jones makes a bit of a mistake. This is going to give Barry Neal the opportunity to get underneath him. He's going to get the run down the straight here, going to get the inside line into turn one and make the move on Ryan Jones. We saw that one coming about 5 or 6 laps ago, but he's finally made the pass, and we're going to see Barry Neal start closing on the Mitch Motorsport boys, I reckon.
Yeah, definitely. I wonder how much I win for that one, because I think I said I'd put my money on it. And made the right call. Yeah, no, it just the pace that Barry has had bringing up onto the back of Jones, and with how hard Jones was pushing earlier, it was sort of inevitable. But it's good to see Barry starting to move forward, and he's definitely making some strides as well.
Another person making strides is Matty Raymond. He's got that car back in a good groove and managed to get past Luke Trahir in the Crank Esports car. So he's up to 10th place now, Matty Raymond. So he's working his way up the field as well. So next in his crosshair is Edward Foster, just a few seconds up the road. Foster's got a nice bit of a gap at the moment, but I imagine that will close up with the very clean looking car, as is often the case with Matty Ray. He's got a very clean looking car out there at the moment and seems to be setting some good pace.
Shout out to Ruben Phelps. In the first stint, he managed to move himself back up into, I think it was 11th or 12th. He just got caught out by that incident with JCW. Didn't get much damage, but he lost a lot of positions. He's already moved himself back into 12th place, and he's starting to attack on Luke Trahir as well. So he's had to do it twice, but he's making some moves as well.
Yeah, he's been really impressive this season. You've got to say, Ruben Phelps, showing some really good speed and really mature driving as well, as he gets underneath Luke Trahir here, and Gary Wellman's going to follow him through as well. Gary Wellman is sitting behind him there and making the pass as well in the Simboys car. So he's having a good little run as well, Gary Wellman. One of those drivers who's got some good pace underneath him and just settling in Gary Wellman. But nice to see Ruben Phelps and Gary Wellman making a good move on another early driver to the ANZCAR series, one of the drivers that's been here for a little bit more time now, Luke Trahir, but yeah, he's been doing a fantastic job too. So a lot of talent in those, the sort of across all slots, but a lot of newer talent in 11th, 12th and 13th for the moment, with Perry Anastakis as well in 14th as well. Another one of those drivers who's been doing very well out there and doing some solid drives.
Definitely. And seems like there's a little bit of an issue for Pearson here. He's dropped about a second off back to Mipplemore, so I wonder if the traffic's just starting to be a bit more of a hindrance than first thought, as drivers are just trying to fight to stay on that lead lap, because it is so crucial if the caution comes out.
Yeah, he's been caught up behind a few cars. He's just behind James Robbie at the moment. James Robbie and Paul Jackson. So those two are fighting it out at this time. So he sort of just got caught up a little bit in some of this traffic, and just a lot of people out there fighting for positions, and that's sort of been costing them a little bit of time over it all. And you don't want to lose time to Josh Mickelmore. He's one of those drivers that when you start losing time to him, it generally means he's going to catch you up and put a lot of pressure on you.
Yeah, it gets a bit of a snowball effect, but I think it's definitely, and then obviously catch-22 is once Pearson breaks them up from battling, they're all single file, which gives Josh the easy run through. So it's a bit of a compounding effect from this traffic. So hopefully for our sakes it all closes up and we get a good fight, but for Pearson he won't want to see this. He won't want to see Mipplemore starting to close in, and I think he's pulled in nearly over a second now since he started to hit the traffic.
Yeah, he's doing a good job. So I should tell me I had something. Nope, it's just my eyes.
I believe Edward Foster's fallen back to 9th.
Foster's been there for a while, actually. Yeah.
I've completely missed that one, sorry.
No, that's okay.
Too many laps, I'm going crazy.
You see how hard it is up here in the commentary booth now? It was one of those things, because you sort of noticed him fighting it out with Barry Neal, of course, but Barry Neal making it past Ryan Jones, sort of just giving that little illusion that he's lost a position, as I think Dwayne Priest just getting very squirrely into the pit lane.
As he's actually one of the first to come down to the pits here, so whether or not that's a strategy or he's got some sort of issue will be interesting to see how it goes. So I think he was only just a lap down at the time.
Yes. So 61 laps since his last stop. So I think he might be one of the early people choosing to coming in, just get some fresh boots on that car, get some fuel on board. You won't need much, of course, because I think fuel's not going to be a major issue here, but it's more so the tyres. So see how he goes on this outrun here. He could actually make up a few positions with it remaining green.
Yeah, and with the delta being about 2.5 laps lost under pits, it is a bit of a risk to come down early, especially if the caution comes out. You can't even just take a wave around and get back on the lead lap. So it's a gamble, very big gamble, but if it pays off for him, he could make up a lot of positions.
I'll say it's actually an issue for him because he's actually just pulled off the track. So Dwayne Priest having an issue, I'd say. So looks like that was an not a planned pit stop. I think it was more just issues with the car than anything else. He pulled off onto the apron when he came out of pit lane and then just jumped back to pit road. So he's pulled that car behind the fence. So that's Dwayne Priest out for the night.
Yeah, it might be a mechanical issue, but on the wheel end, or possibly he's had to jump out of it for some reason. Unfortunate, but sometimes life gets in the way. That's the unfortunate thing of sim racing, is we're at home and we've all got our home lives, so sometimes we've got to jump off under certain circumstances. So hopefully it's not too serious, and hopefully he's all right for next week.
That's it. Mechanical issues in sim racing is very different to full medal racing. When you have a mechanical problem in sim racing, it's usually due to a power cord being pulled out of your sim rig, or your VR failing on you, which has happened to me twice in the last week. So those have been fun things. Just looking at drivers that have made that stop, Riley Curtis actually has made that stop under green. So he came in about 12 laps ago. So he's come in for that stop and is trying to make up some time. You can see him actually catching on Neil Pearson at the moment. So you can see the difference of fresh tyres really paying off. But Riley is 4 laps down. So he was a couple of laps off the pace to begin with, I think. So with the green stop, that loses you about 2 laps, I think, off the top of my head.
Yep.
So he's just trying to gain some positions, probably on people like James Robbie and maybe Damon Stockton as well, just to try and get a couple of extra positions out of this race.
Yeah, and if he can get back past Neil Pearson, that just puts him 3 laps down. And if a wave around comes around, gets back on 2 laps down, it's every lap counts, and especially if we get a caution out soon.
That's it. Every lap does count and every little helps, and as we say often, is never give up, because you never know what's going to happen in motorsport. It can always surprise you. Just up at the front though, Michael Skurlock has now got a fast charging purple coloured Jason Martin on his tail at the moment. The Mitch Motorsport car is right on his 6 and putting the pressure on Skurlock, and of course he's got his teammate of Danny G behind him, and a sea of orange cars as well, just back behind Jason Martin at the moment, as we've got Barry Neal there and his teammate Paul Jackson as well.
Yeah, it's impressive from Barry actually. He's closed the gap right up to the back of Danny G. I think he's now only less than a second behind, so it'd be good to see if he can start to maybe make a move on all 3 cars ahead, and if he can do that, he'll move himself up into 4th.
Yeah, I did say a bit earlier on, watch out for Barry. As soon as he got past Foster, he just seemed to he seemed to be holding back a little bit early in that stint and just waiting to sort of start putting in that fast time. So I think he was just doing a little bit of saving earlier in the stint, getting a little bit of pain early on, and then using it to his advantage a little bit later on in the stint. So it's worked out well for him up there, and he seems to be making a good bit of time.
A couple more cars just holding Pearson up, and he's actually dropped down to a second now, the lead as well. So that's actually under a second, my bad. It's 8/10 at the moment. So Micklemore really starting to close in now. This could really be quite interesting soon.
Yeah, that's it. Justin Witcher just jumping down on the inside, not making it too easy for Josh Micklemore. So he's going to have to go around the long way, up on the high side, of course, and that not where you want to be overly, because as I say, those marbles can catch you out a little bit. But Micklemore has made that pass, and looks like Gallagher's going to make it too. So they've got through relatively cleanly, and they're going to start chasing down the leader anytime soon. As Jason Martin's lost a few positions. Something's happened to Jason Martin there. He's just gone wide. Jason's just gone wide, getting behind Skurlock. and he's gone right up onto the high line. He managed to save the car as he got up onto those marbles, exactly what I was just talking about, and he's lost 2 positions, so he's dropped back behind Barry Neal right now.
That's Barry Neal again. He's really charging fast. I put money on him making the moves up.
Oh, Paul Jackson and Norman Clark. Paul Jackson and Norman Clark have made contact, and Norman Clark has had a big accident there.
Oh wow, that's a shame. We were really starting to heat up for a close battle there.
That is a huge issue. Norman Clark rolling all over the circuit there, flying up to the top and then rolling his way back down to the bottom. That's a big shame for Norman Clark. Paul Jackson just getting a bit of snap oversteer and going into Norman, and that was that.
And unfortunately, that I think takes away our nice green flag pit stops for the race there, because it's going to be tight, but they're all coming in with about 80 to go, which is our magic number on fuel.
Yeah, that's it. We were talking about pit stop. The earliest you could stop to make it to the end, and we said about lap 80. So that's it. 81 laps remaining in this race. We're on lap 119. So this is they're going to be the stop unless we get another caution where everybody could make it to the end.
Our lucky dog is Justin Witcher there, so he'll pick up his lap, and I think there's a few guys who might be staying out for a wave around here as well. So
yeah, try and get it done. So yeah, that's it's robbed us of that green flag stopping, unfortunately, which is sometimes the case, and it's never what we like to see. We like to see lots of green flag racing. Ryan Jones getting a good stop in pit lane. Just going back to have a little bit of a look at Ryan. Took all 4 tyres, so Ryan Jones jumping ahead of Foster. Well, he was ahead of Foster, but he didn't quite jump Barry Neal. I thought he got ahead of Barry Neal, but he didn't. Barry Neal losing a position to Jason Martin. No, he did get past Barry Neal, I think. So Ryan Jones managing to get up a position in that stop there, so it worked out quite well for him.
Definitely. Looks like a couple of the lap cars are now starting to come down to the pit road as well.
Yeah, Justin Witcher coming into pit lane right now, so he's going to chuck some new tyres on there and get things sorted out a little bit. Just looking through the field as it stands, and currently the biggest gainer is Maddie Raymond, something that we don't say that often. He's up in 10th place with 15 positions, but close to him with 17 positions gained is Ruben Phelps. So those two doing a great job this race, and we did say earlier on, look out for Ruben. He started down there in 30th position, a bit out of place for himself, but he's doing a great job of working his way up the field on a track that is quite tricky to pass on.
And one thing that you'll also note is that now that there's only 15 cars on the lead lap now, it does help those who are just on the back end of that, just in terms of a bit more security. You don't have to go as hard on the restarts. You know that you're not going to lose too many positions. You can definitely really look after the rubber and hopefully make a charge late in the race.
Yeah, we saw, as we were speaking about, we saw Barry Neal doing that a little bit earlier on, so he might do the similar strategy of just going a little bit easier on the restart and not pushing it too hard for the first stint, almost like first 20 or so laps, and then starting to put the pressure back on. We saw that a little bit in the Thunder Series as well, where people were just losing a little bit in the early stages of a stint and then putting the pressure back on later in the stint as well. It's all that tyre management phase, really.
Yeah, and one of the things I thought might be interesting, I was just trying to see if we'd see anyone do it, is come down here late in the caution just to splash it up with fuel. You'll drop to the tail of the field, but you might make it. But I don't think anyone's made that call, so yeah, it's definitely going to be interesting as we come to the end of the race here, because it was 80 laps was about the maximum you could get out of the tank. So we have about 81 to do since the pits. So watch this space. It's going to be the one that would say.
That's it. Of course, being under pace car does help a little bit. You do save a tiny bit of fuel here, a splash of fuel almost sort of a couple of vapours in the old in a couple of cylinders. So that can be the difference between getting you to the end of the race and not getting to the end of the race sometimes. So it's going to be close for some drivers, because of course it all depends on how heavy you are with the right foot as well. And some drivers are much better at saving fuel than others, of course.
As I think the lights are out and the pace car's off, as Neil Pearson's going to take the lead here, and he's going to choose his moment to go here in a minute, and we'll see how he goes. Got Micklemore on the outside, Gallagher behind him, as Pearson's off now. He's got a really good start there. Gallagher's gone with him. Micklemore's a little bit caught out, but hopefully he can hold on around the outside and hold his position as he cuts down in front of Gallagher, and with status quo into turn 1-2.
Yeah, another good start from Pearson, but Micklemore has got a sniff right now, and you can see Micklemore just right on the back of Pearson at the moment. He's going to start applying the pressure, and he does. He's really pushing it up close to the back of that DPR car, the Simrig sponsored DPR car. He's going to get underneath Pearson here. This could be Micklemore's chance. He's going to make the move. Is he going to make it stick? Yes, he is. And just behind him, Skurlock is doing exactly the same move, copying Josh Micklemore's homework there on his teammate Hamish Gallagher. But what this is going to do is push Pearson out wide, and this could be Skurlock's chance to make a position as well. But Pearson just manages to get it down in time.
Carbon copy move from Ryan Jones back as well on Danny G. He's done the same, and I think Danny G almost just got back in front of Barry Neal as well. So a few moves early, people making the most of good tyres, knowing that it's going to be really difficult to overtake later in the stint.
Yeah, Danny G is ahead of Barry Neal at the moment, and Foster's just behind them as well. And we did see Foster just struggling a little bit with the green pace almost, with that damage to the car. So we'll see how that pays off for him, as there's a bit of an incident a bit further back between Riley Curtis and I think JCW involved in that, as well as Justin Witcher, I think.
Oh, Damon Stockton's come down into JCW, I believe, there.
Yeah, Greg Spence, sorry, that was. Stockton and JCW there, and Riley Curtis has just got caught up behind him and just got sort of bit of a piggy in the middle there and got caught up in between them, but it's remained green.
Yeah, it's a little bit naughty from Damon there. He's just come down on Josh in the middle of the straight there and caused that big issue there. So there'll probably be a few words said about that after the race. It's a little bit naughty on his behalf.
Yeah, as they go back and watch the replay and see exactly what happened, of course, because when you're driving the car, you don't necessarily get all of the views, but often you sort of think you're in the right. You look at the replay and go, oh wait, I was in the wrong, or you think you're in the right and you realise you were in the right. So I imagine that after they've seen those replays, there'll be some words spoken between those drivers.
Definitely, and I don't think there'll be much love lost there between them either. It's unfortunate for Curtis as well. He got caught up in that, and I believe there was another car that got caught as well. But we stay green and we move on, and Micklemore started to open the gap up a bit, and Skurlock's all over the back of Pearson.
Yeah, it was Greg Spence involved in that in the Activity Hub Barley team. He was really an unfortunate passenger there. He just tried to brake and just could not get the car stopped in time and caught the back of Riley Curtis. Absolutely one of those things that's not your fault. You know, as we said before, these cars are very hard to slow down. They are not the best things on the brakes, and if you lock a wheel up, they don't slow down at all.
No, they've really started to struggle. So as we start to move on, I think that Micklemore's really stretching his legs here. I hope he's not hurting his tyres too much here or using up too much fuel, but he started to open the gap right up on Pearson, and I don't know if Pearson's got much for him at the moment.
No, Micklemore about 10th quicker in the last couple of laps. He's definitely setting the pace up the front, although Pearson's starting to come back a little bit at him now. So it's going to be that little thing of playing around on the tyres and just getting into that comfortable pace as well, getting yourself into a position where you can where you feel confident, comfortable, and can just start setting those numbers and setting laps at your own behest almost, as we see Greg Spencer coming back out there again. Very, very damaged car to that, but keeping it going and trying to keep out there for as long as possible. He's currently on target to get past Dwayne Priest, so he'll work his way up to 26th if he keeps that car out of trouble.
I believe Curtis has come down as well for some repairs, so unfortunate for him, probably a little bit more damage than we first thought. So
yeah, that car took a big whack as well from the front and the back. So not surprised to see him in pit lane with needing a few repairs, probably a couple of quick repairs to the front of that car, and a bit of tape over the radiator to stop that leaking and things like that. It's at moments like this you've got to thank the gods that there is no liquid in iRacing, because you imagine there would be a fair bit of that spilt over the track tonight.
Yeah, I think you'd almost have red flags under that circumstances, but luckily enough, virtual makes everything a little bit nicer in terms of that respect.
Yeah, you don't have to worry about oil slicks quite as much in the virtual space. Nothing as fun as coming across an oil slick all of a sudden and having your wheels decide they're going to turn a completely different way. But Josh Mickelmore is absolutely flying out front at the moment. He is really setting a good pace, and he's pulled out about 9/10 of a second to Neil Pearson at the moment, who has Skurlock all over the back of him at this stage, and then a whole heap of cars behind him. It is very close up the front, from second to ninth, really.
There's the Neil Pearson train, I think we're going to dub it at the moment. He's really holding them up a little bit. I wonder if just maybe trying to save a bit of fuel, a bit of tyres, as we know we're really tight on fuel. So probably two attitudes here. You've got Mickelmore, who's gung-ho going for it, and Pearson might just be trying to hold on to a bit more fuel than Mickelmore.
Yeah, it's who has the confidence in their numbers, who has the maths correct. That's the big thing. Is we've seen it a few times this season and over the years, of course. People thinking, yeah, I'll be fine to the end. I've got plenty of fuel, and then it not working out quite as well.
Skurlock just starting to show the nose now, so he's getting a little bit impatient here. He'll want to get some clean air on the nose because he's stuck behind Pearson's going to start hurting his rubber as well. So Skurlock will want to get clean air on that nose pretty soon. I think there's a move back in the pack there.
There is Ryan Jones getting passed by Danny G, and this is going to let Barry Neal through as well, as Ryan Jones gets caught up on that high side. Will he be able to get it down in time? Doesn't look like it. Barry Neal's managed to get that nose underneath him and get that move done as well. So Barry Neal working his way up there as well, and this is going to drop Ryan Jones back into Edward Foster as well. We've seen these two get quite close to each other on the track a few times in the past few weeks, so I imagine they'll be very happy to see each other.
Yeah, I don't believe there's much love lost in this relationship here. So, but it's good to see Barry Neal get back up into 7th place after he lost a couple of spots under pit stops. So he'll definitely be one that's wanting this one to go right out to the end of the race here, because he's got some really good long run pace, especially after 50, 60 laps.
Yeah, that's it. He's been showing he's got good long run pace all night, and bit of a shout out to Locked On Lads and the podcast that they have every week, just talking about results and things like that. They had Edward Foster on there this week, so check that out. Not a sponsor of the series, but they have been covering us, so a big thank you to all of them. And a good interview with Edward Foster there as well, talking about ANZCAR and the league and everything in general.
Being Ed's a former champion, I'm fairly certain he's got a lot of awesome tidbits he's dropped in that one as well, so definitely check that one out. It's a good interview, that one.
Yeah, very much so. But he is right on the back of Ryan Jones at the moment and putting the pressure on. So they're really starting to apply the pressure. And Skurlock's just had to drop off a bit from Neil Pearson, who's starting to drop the hammer now. Neil Pearson is putting in the pace now, so I think it's go time for Pearson. He's waited long enough. He's now happy that he's going to make it to the end on fuel. He's happy that his tyres are going to be comfortable. And I think he's just pressed the go fast button.
Yeah, that, or maybe Skurlock just being stuck up behind started to run the rubber out of it as well. So being that he's stuck in the dirty air has probably not helped at all, because Pearson's not really gaining on Mickelmore though. That's the only catch that I would believe, that maybe there's a bit more of that dirty air to it than Pearson dropping the hammer.
Well, these last couple of laps, he's been about a tenth quicker on my timing. So it's a little. He's gaining a little bit, not huge amounts, but he is just that little bit faster than Mickelmore. But they are very close to each other. So he's not going to be catching him hand over fist. But as we get towards the end of this run, I reckon we'll see Pearson just starting to close a little bit more on Mickelmore than we see Mickelmore pulling away. But of course, as is usually the case in racing, I'm sure I'll be proved wrong at any stage. Yeah,
definitely. It sort of seems like it's a bit of a ebb and flow at the moment. One sets a quick lap, the other sets a quicker lap. So the gap's not really changing, but the other gap that is changing is Skurlock is dropping off the back of the leaders. So let's say it's a bit of column A, a bit of column B. Pearson's put in a bit more effort, but Skurlock's also starting to struggle on that rubber.
Yeah, and a very close battle at the moment is for 8th, 9th, 10th and 11th. There's two separate little battles going on at the moment. Matty Raymond and Gary Wellman having a good fight, as well as Foster and Jones. So there are a few little battles going on throughout down the pack at the moment, and just keeping an eye on everything as we often do up here in the commentary booth.
I think Foster's going to want to try and get a move on here soon if he can, because just sitting behind Jones is going to really start to hurt the rubber, especially with the fact that he's got all of that damage on that car as well. He has got less downforce, he's got more. The car will really be quite tight now, it's got the damage. He's going to want to get past soon, or he's going to start to be vulnerable to Raymond and Wellman.
Exactly, and how much does it affect you in these cup cars with that dirty air? Of course, we talk a lot about that in single-seater racing and other series that are a little bit more aero-dependent, of course, but it is still an effect here on the oval racing, of course, and in the cup series.
Yeah, it's surprisingly large effect in these cars. Like, quite often it'll make the cars a lot looser, so you'll be following in, and when you get in behind someone, it really starts to get the cars loose. But at some tracks, it sort of does the opposite effect. Dover's one in the past where you got quite tight in behind other cars. So as we can see with some of the cars that we're following, they just sort of drop off quite dramatically, like Skurlock and Gallagher there. So I'd suggest they're getting just a little bit stuck in the dirty air. You're having to turn the wheel a bit more, put the foot down a little bit harder to try and get it turned. And it's just wearing the rubber out to the point that you start to lose that advantage you had that you were up behind someone. So
yeah, that's it. All these little things do make differences, and it's amazing how much following another race car can affect you in that respect. You sort of look at it and you think, well, this would be easy. You know, when you're watching from home, of course, you go, why aren't they overtaking? They're right next to each other. This can't be that hard. But it is surprisingly difficult.
Yeah, and one of the biggest things is aero is probably one of the most important things on a race car. And when you you take all of that aero that you were getting running in the clean air and you basically take it all away and you're running in a void, it really, really hurts the way the car wants to run and corner. And that's why you'll see them get more understeer, because they've lost all of that downforce they had on the front of the car.
Very much so. As
I believe Ed's getting really close now. He's almost bumper to bumper, pushing Ryan Jones through 1 and 2.
Yeah, he's sat right underneath the rear spoiler of Jones at the moment, and he is just pressuring him into those corners, just saying, I want to get past. I've had enough of staring at the back of the car. I want to be in front of you right now.
Yeah, it's about the closest battle we've got at the moment on track, isn't it? Everyone's started to separate a bit and move away from each other. Probably that dirty air is just hurting the cars behind. It's unfortunate. It's sort of what happens at Dover. You get a field spread and everyone sort of moves away from each other. Hopefully we can close up as the tyres wear out, but there's not a lot going on at the moment, folks, and we're quite sorry for that.
Say that, up the front the gap has been halved as well, so Pearson is catching on Micklemore at the moment. He's brought that gap down to around about 5/10 of a second. As I say that, he makes a little mistake and it goes up to 6-7 of a second, of course, commentator's curse, but he is catching on Micklemore at the moment, so that's one to keep an eye out for as well, as Foster's just dropped off a bit from Ryan Jones and is falling into the grasp of Matty Raymond.
Yeah, and we said before, I think that if Foster really needed to get that move done a little bit earlier, otherwise he was going to start to fall back to Raymond, and case in point, look at what's just happened.
Yeah, very much so. As Marco Dornack's made a bit of a mistake.
I was about to mention that he's in pit lane.
He actually was coming into pit lane and then just caught the apron a little bit, and that's lifted the car and spun it around. He managed to catch it in time. Didn't cause any damage, but he's coming into pit lane. I think some issues for that car. I think he's needing to get some repairs done to it.
I believe he might have stayed out on the last caution for a waiver end, so he's probably running out of fuel on that one.
Yeah, that could be the case with that one. Just banking for a very late caution there and hoping it will come when it doesn't, which is... Gambling is always a big part of oval racing as well. It's an important... luck is always an important thing to have in motorsport, but in oval racing it can be very crucial. Just dropping down to 4th and 5th place at the moment. Hamish Gallagher has got his teammate all over the back of him at the moment. The The red Mitch Motorsport car has got the purple Mitch Motorsport car all over the back of him. And as we know in NASCAR and in oval racing generally, and especially with Mitch Motorsport, is they are always happy to race each other as well. So I doubt we'll be seeing them sitting in position and just be happy to just sit behind each other.
Yeah, but I think the benefit is that they will be chatting to each other, so they'll probably be able to coordinate it a little bit better than if it was an all-out race for it. But,
jumping back to Ruben Phelps. Ruben Phelps is making a move on Luke Traher right now. They are side by side through the corner. Luke made a little bit of a mistake, and this has given Ruben the chance to get past the 43 of Luke Traher. Phelps making a move on that Frankie Sports car of Luke Traher and getting up ahead of him for 12th position.
I think James Robbie there's a little bit out of position a couple laps down, but he's on better rubber at the moment. He'll just be trying to... He'll just be out there to have a bit of fun and bank some points at this stage. So on the fresh rubber, he'll probably be having a ball out there.
He will be, and a bit further ahead, we've got the battle back on between Foster and Jones. Foster, it seems like he just pulled off a little bit, just to let those tyres cool down maybe, and is now putting the attack mode back onto Ryan Jones, putting the pressure on him and just sitting up close once more.
And Pearson's started to halve that gap again. It's down to 3/10 as well up at the front, so that's going to start to close in a minute soon, and that'll be a battle to watch. I wonder if Micklemore's just copping the same issue that Pearson had earlier in the traffic. Being the first on the traffic, it's always a little bit of a more difficult task when the traffic doesn't quite know you're there.
That's it, Ryan Jones running it up high, and this is going to be so close between Jones and Foster. Really close there as they came out the corner. Ryan Jones throwing the big block on Foster. That was very close between those two. As you said, Lockie, no love lost between these two drivers.
Yeah, and I believe Ed's just a little bit upset with the racecraft from Jones. Nothing against the rules, but it is a bit unsportsmanlike. So certainly not making any friends out there. He hasn't broken any rules, but he's certainly not helping the cause.
It's not like Ryan, is it?
I believe there's a move on for 10th place there between Wellman and Raymond as well. Wellman just up the inside of Raymond, going into 1 and 2. He's just going to hold it there. I believe it's going to be a little bit of overlap. Not quite. Raymond's backed out of that one and let it go. So move there for Wellman up into 10th place.
Yeah, that one's been shaping up for quite a bit of time, in all honesty. I've sort of been keeping half an eye on that one because they've been very close to each other. Up the front, as we were talking about, lapped traffic maybe becoming a bit of an issue. We've got Mirko Dortnek out there, and he's just got his way past Josh Micklemore right now and just cost Micklemore a little bit of time. So that's going to give Neil Pearson the opportunity to get back up there as one of the Simrigs cars, the DPR cars, just gets a big tank slapper in front of Josh Micklemore there. That was a big moment there for Phil Otto. His car just absolutely just losing power almost. So it just looked like it was standing still, and the closing speed of Josh Micklemore was very quick there.
Another little tidbit, I believe Hamish Gallagher's let his two teammates through as well. I did notice it a little bit before, but he's just he pulled up high, let them both go because they've got a little bit more pace.
Yeah. Oh, Foster having a big moment. He had a big slide as he was side by side with Ryan Jones, who took the inside line. He almost had it made, and then the rears stepped out on Foster. He managed to save it in a nick of time, just avoiding that wall. So he's going to have to get back into that fight and get back into the battle as he's got... he currently has... James Robbie just behind him, who's working his way up on those slightly fresher tyres, as we've seen. But yeah, big moment for Foster. Great save.
There's still 30 laps to go in this race as well, so anything could happen at this stage. I believe Pearson started to pull back again off Micklemore, who's now grown the gap out to 9/10, but it's still such a long time to go in this race, and if we get a caution, this could really spice up the race.
Indeed, you were a little bit worried that this might get a little bit boring, Lockie. It's certainly coming back to life now. This is the thing, is you have those moments where everything seems to settle down, and then all of a sudden somebody presses the button and all hell breaks loose. Definitely,
and I believe the gap's starting to close again, so it's a bit of an ebb and flow between Pearson and Micklemore. I wonder if it's just sort of a bit of the traffic maybe affecting that one more than anything. more and more cars are starting to drop off the lead lap as well. I think we're about to lose Anastakis and Justin Witcher soon as well, which will put us down to 12, which it's not something you see every day, all the cars losing the lead lap, but it's something that Dover does quite regularly every year. So, as we saw it last night in the Thunder, we end up with 3 on the lead lap. So,
I was about to say, I mean, more than 10 cars on the lead lap here at Dover. That's quite a good amount of cars to be on the lead lap here.
Definitely.
It's not the easiest track to go around.
Yeah, I believe those 2 cautions have definitely, or 3 cautions, my bad, have helped that situation. But we're going to start to slowly see more and more cars drop off.
Yeah, and as we say a lot of the time, you know, in oval racing, it does take a lot of flack from other forms of motorsport in the whole joke, if you're just turning left, how hard can it be? But it really is a difficult thing on these tracks because they aren't like it's not just flat out left turns. You've got braking to consider, you've got letting off the accelerator to consider, turning the car just at that correct amount to consider, and just keeping the car going at a decent pace and not dropping off speed. There's so much to work on. And
sorry to cut you off, Carl. The battle for the lead's about to get really interesting because we've got 2 cars that are about to lose a lap fighting with another car that's a lap down. And Pearson's about 4 tenths off the back of Micklemore, so I'd be watching this space here. It could get really interesting in a minute.
So as you can see, Anastakis down on the inside of Micklemore. It just gets a little bit of a tail waggle.
Oh, and that's hurt Pearson. He's had to back out of it there.
He has, yeah, he lost a little bit of time there, and he's going to lose a bit more time as he's going to have to go up high here past Justin Witcher, I think that is.
Yep.
So he's going to lose a little bit more time, and then he's got JCW in front of him as well, so he's going to drop down to the bottom line, but going up high and then down low again. Get a little bit of pick up on the tyres, and the car doesn't feel quite as good, and it costs you time.
Yeah, that really hurt Pearson. He went from about 3 tenths off to about 7 tenths back, so... And not only that, it's probably going to hurt his rubber as well, having to run up on that high line, as you said, picking up that marbles. He's now going to scrub them off for a couple laps. Just
jumping back. Ryan Jones just making a little bit of contact with the wall. This is going to give Foster another opportunity to make that move up to 8th place if he can do it. That will cost him a little bit of momentum, so the fight is still on back here. We've been talking about this fight for a long time right now, but it's still going on. The battle is still there, and it's by no means over between these 2 drivers. But what has happened is it's just allowing a few cars to slowly catch up. There's a couple of lap cars between Wellman and Foster, but Raymond is right on the back of them as well as Phelps. So, you know, those cars are sitting there, and any mistake from Ryan Jones or Edward Foster could cost him a lot of positions right now.
Yeah, and I think we've got quite a few cars out there with 10, 15, 20 lap pressure tyres starting to show that they're just a bit quicker at the moment, especially. And then when you count the fact that Foster's got quite the damaged car and hasn't been in to fix it at all at any point in this race, so this could be quite messy at the moment if anything goes wrong.
It could be, but up at the front, the gap is closing once more. Neil Pearson is starting to hunt down Josh Micklemore. He is just 3 tenths behind at the moment. So, again, it is getting close up at the front, and that battle is happening as Neil Pearson steps to back out.
Oh, well saved by Neil there, but that's going to cost him time and hurt the tyres.
Yeah, he seems to be pushing pretty hard at the moment, but spinning up those rear tyres, losing that rear end is going to heat them up, and it's going to take a few laps for them to cool down right now. That could really be a thing that's going to cost him. He loses it again a little bit, runs up high. It's starting to get a little bit scruffy from Pearson. He's just got to keep it going now, and he really wants to get up to the back of Josh Micklemore, and you can just see maybe a little bit of frustration starting to come through with the drive.
Yeah, 1st and 2nd in the championship, 1st and 2nd on track. So this is going to be the battle to watch come the end of this race, and looks like Pearson does have the pace advantage, but if he's hurting the tyres, if he's pushing a little bit too hard to try and catch Micklemore, he's not going to have much when he gets onto the back of him.
Yeah, that's it. Well, first and third in the championship. We've got top three in the championship in the top three positions, though. Skurlock in second, Neil Pearson in third, and Josh Micklemore in first, where he sits at this very moment. But it is tight between them. Neil Pearson, of course, led the championship for so many weeks before Josh Micklemore managed to just get it up ahead of him. We saw Neil Pearson have that brilliant start to the year, and it just almost seems like he wants to get back up there right now and just get back into the lead of the championship. A little bit of frustration maybe starting to show through.
I believe Ryan Jones has clipped the wall again there. So Foster's back onto the back of him as well in that little scrap that we were talking about before.
As Neil Pearson is right on the back of Josh Micklemore at the moment. The battle as Josh Micklemore loses the rear end. This is going to give Pearson the lead. He gets through underneath Josh Micklemore. He's going to now have those rear tyres very hot. He lost all four tyres there through that corner, broke traction. He managed to save it. Brilliant save by Micklemore, but this has cost him an enormous amount of time, and this lets Skurlock get through as well. Micklemore's going to possibly drop back behind his teammate Jason Martin as well, from first to third in a matter of corners for Josh Micklemore.
Yeah, he's really hurt the rubber there with that little slide, and it doesn't take much.
With 13 laps remaining, that is a costly mistake, as you see Jason Martin getting past Josh Micklemore there, and his teammate Danny G as well getting through now too.
Yeah, almost worry that maybe he might have hurt the right rear really badly there. Oh, and I believe Ed Foster's got round Ryan Jones as well there.
Yeah, Foster getting past Wellman right up behind them as well. Wellman's really caught up to this, as well as Matty Raymond. Wellman was all over the back of Ryan Jones there, as well as that battle for the lead was happening. It's always the tricky part, just keeping about 16 eyes on all these cars. We almost need a spider up in the booth just to help us out sometimes. But Ryan Jones starting to struggle a little bit now. Wellman really getting some good speed. And as I said, watch out for Wellman, for Raymond and Phelps, because they are not that far away from Foster and Jones, and they have indeed caught up. So any mistake from any one of those drivers, they will be paying.
And keep an eye on Skurlock here. He's just torn out about a second out of Pearson in the last 3 laps. He's 0.3 a lap quicker at the moment. This is going to be really tight here between those two, and I think Skurlock might just have enough pace to go past him here.
How many times have we seen Skurlock wait till the end before he pops the cork and starts absolutely flying it, starts putting in those purple sectors and going for it. So Skurlock is cranking out those fast times right now and starting to catch Neil Pearson. But Jason Martin isn't too far off behind him as well. Jason Martin's starting to show a little bit of speed as well.
Yeah, I wouldn't count out Danny G either. All 3 of those cars have started to put the pace down. As a little bit further back, Ryan Jones has actually just fallen behind Wellman and Raymond here as there's a little bit of
Josh Micklemore's going around. Josh Micklemore has lost the rear end. Oh, big moment there. That's a big moment. Micklemore's coming into pit lane. Something else happened between Ryan Jones and Matty Raymond as well. So it looks like Matty Raymond and Ryan Jones made slight contact mid-corner as well, and yeah, those two have had a bit of a coming together, and Ryan Jones is losing the rear end right now. Those cars are really getting sketchy to drive out there. Neil Pearson has got Skurlock all over the back of him at the moment for the lead, and Skurlock has got a good charge at the moment. Neil Pearson losing the rear end down the straight there. This is going to give Skurlock a run up on the high side. Then Jason Martin is going to come down the low side. This is going to give Jason Martin the opportunity to get up into second and possibly the lead of the race as Skurlock makes contact with the wall. Jason Martin down the inside at the moment. Skurlock closes the door, gets a good run, and he's going to start putting the pressure on Neil Pearson once more.
I wonder if we might be a bit tight on fuel, and that might be why Josh Micklemore came down, because he is actually coming to pit when he lost the rear end there. I don't know if these guys have got enough fuel yet.
No, and a big Ryan Jones, I think that was round in front of us. Ryan Jones, big accident in front of us there. We've remained green, but Pearson has got Skurlock all over the back of him. That smoke would have really thrown him out there. But Skurlock applying pressure. Oh, now Pearson loses the ball. Huge accident there. Jason Martin the lead.
That's incredible. That's a huge moment.
That is a championship-changing moment there. This could be a huge night for the championship. Neil Pearson losing the rear end on the exit of the corner there, going up into the wall and into Skurlock.
That's a huge moment.
Yeah, a lot of damage to Skurlock, so we'll catch this one again, but you can see there, big damage to both of those cars. A lot of damage to the front. We'll try go back again and catch the actual moment when it happened, but Pearson just lost that rear, and that's where it happened. Battle for the lead with 5 laps remaining here. Pearson's back end stepped out. He went up into the wall. Skurlock tried to avoid it, and the one that got through that unscathed was Jason Martin.
Yeah, and now interesting call here, because I believe this will be a green-white checker. Do you stay out? Do you take tyres? Looks like the leaders have come down to take tyres.
Foster has stayed out. Wellman has stayed out. Phelps has stayed out. Wichter has stayed out. Anastakis has stayed out. So
I think Barry Neal has stayed out. Oh, no, he's come down, sorry. So it's interesting to see if Foster's made the right call, if he can make some track position, because he was sitting 9th at the time, so...
This is going to be fascinating right here. This is a race-changing... this has made a dramatic change to the race. From my standings at the moment, Jason Martin's going to be just behind Justin Wichter, I think. So he'll be down there in 4th position. So we'll see how this all pays out. I'm just going to wait for things to come up. I think Matty Raymond's actually come out in front of Jason Martin. I think he only changed the 2 tyres, maybe.
No, Matty Raymond was a lap down.
Okay, there we go. And Scott Griffiths is somehow still alive out there, so he's managed to keep going despite the beautiful Mobile 1 livery missing pretty much most of its panels, but he's managed to keep it going and managed to work his way up to 22nd position. I think he's coming into pit lane to get a little bit more radiator fluid popped into that car. But he's done a good job of keeping that car out there and just gaining a few positions.
Yeah, Foster's the only one that stayed out here, and I think it might be a good call, because he was sitting P9 there, so we'll see how he goes come the end of the race. But
this is fascinating. I think Foster actually was caught out because of somebody being a little bit out of position, so he had to stay out. Otherwise, he would have got pinged for coming in and passing under yellow. So, just hearing on the radio him talking about that, so I think he's going to drop down once they get past the start-finish line. So it's going to be a battle between Jason Martin and Neil Pearson showing in 2nd at the moment. So Neil Pearson has managed to save that car a little bit. Michael Skurlock's still up there, despite missing every panel on that car at the moment. The one that's really hurt a lot is Josh Micklemore, of course, having to stop under green. That's really cost him a lot of time. But it's got to say it's looking good at the moment for Jason Martin.
As Skurlock comes back into the pit lane there, I think Pearson's going to drop like a stone here. As we saw his teammate Stephen Williams earlier had the similar issue with the front missing. He went really fast, so I don't have high hopes for Pearson's results here, but he's sitting in 3rd at the moment, so you never know.
No, you don't. Tell you one to watch out for is Ruben Phelps. He's up there in 5th position at the moment, so Ruben has done a great job out of that lot. He's just kept his car clean. It's going to be a fascinating restart right here. This is made for a very spicy finish to the end of this race here at Dover.
Yeah.
And Foster just doing a little test run there. You just saw Foster just putting his foot down a little bit before he gets to there, just seeing what he's got underneath him, and you can see that back end stepping out immediately. So I think Foster's going to just drop down a little bit and not really race anyone on this restart, because I don't think there's much he can do.
He won't make it easy, but I don't think he's going to be too hard. As take it away, Carl, for the green-white checker.
Yeah, as the pace car comes in for the final time tonight here at Dover for the ANZCAR Cup here on FGM. Foster does get away quite well. He puts his foot down and gets a good start. Jason Martin up on the high side. He's going to have a very good chance right now. Foster's going to have the car. He drops down to the inside and allows them past. He's not going to put too much pressure on. Jason Martin's managed to get out in the lead, get a good run. Neil Pearson has worked his way up to second at the moment with Hamish Gallagher behind him. Ruben Phelps is just behind Hamish as they stand, with Gary Wellman there as well. But Jason Martin has managed to get a fantastic lead for this final lap here as the white flag is out for the Dover round of the ANZCAR Cup. Hamish Gallagher down the inside of Ruben Phelps at the moment. Will Hamish be able to make this pass? No, he can't quite do it at the moment. Ruben Phelps has managed to hold on to third as Gary Wellman into the wall. Big hit for Gary Wellman. He managed to keep it going in a straight line though. Can Ruben Phelps make the move on Neil Pearson? Neil Pearson is going to hold it there somehow with all that damage. Finish second with Ruben Phelps in third position. Hamish Gallagher fourth and Gary Wellman in fifth.
Very well driven there from Jason Martin there to just keep it out of trouble, but well done to Pearson to hold on to second there. He's very well done in the end there. There's a massive props to Gary Wellman then, picking up top 5 in the end, and Ruben Phelps 30th to 3rd. What a drive.
Can you believe this is Jason Martin's first win this season in the Cup?
I can't believe it. That's incredible. For the man who's the most winningest driver in ANZCAR, this is his first win this year.
Yep. We speak about drivers that have pedigree. Jason Martin is one of them, and I think he is super happy at the moment. He is just burning those rear tyres, drifting it around. I reckon there is a smile as wide as a Cheshire Cat's in that helmet at the moment. He is super stoked with that one. And this completes a Mitch Motorsport win for all 3 rounds of the Cup of the ANZCAR series this week. They've taken out the trucks, they've taken out the Xfinity, and now they've taken out the Cup.
It almost turned around and say, I think Mitch Motorsports is back and they mean business. The first start of the year, they really struggled to find some form, but all 3 races and 1-2s in the first 2, as well as the fact that I believe all 4 of them were, apart from Micklemore, in the top 10. It's very well driven from all 4 drivers of the Mitch Motorsport crew.
Yeah, they bought the Thunder this week as Thunder returned to the ANZCAR series. They've had 2 top 2 finished, 2 1-2s this week, and another win here in the Cup. Of course, gotta say, Josh Micklemore not getting a win this week. So Josh Micklemore, the driver we usually expect to see him there up the top. He's the only one that didn't get a win this week, but really good job from all of those drivers. And as you said, Ruben Phelps, what a fantastic drive from him, getting from last to 3rd in that race here at Dover, a very tricky track. Neil Pearson somehow bringing that car home after that big incident and just getting it across the line in the end and managing to get there into 2nd position. That's good news for his championship. That's really going to help him out. Michael Skurlock ended up finishing 9th in the end. So let's go through the top 10. So first place, Jason Martin, Neil Pearson 2nd, Ruben Phelps in 3rd with Hamish Gallagher 4th, Gary Wellman, a well-deserved top 5 finish. And I think that might be Gary Wellman's first top 5 in the Cup series as well. And indeed his first top 10 as well. So great job from Gary Wellman. Danny G there in 6th position, started 6th, finished 6th. Foster managed to get it home in 7th position in the end after all of those incidents. Getting caught up in a lot of accidents, Foster, but he managed to get home 7th in the end. In 8th place, from 29 to 8th, another driver on a serious move is Justin Witcher there in the Activity Hub Barley car. Great drive from Justin. Up in the top 10 in that number 10 car in 8th position. Michael Skurlock, as I said, finished in 9th at the end of that race, with Barry Neal rounding out the top 10 in 10th place. 11th place, we have Perry Anastakis with Ryan Jones in 12th. 13th, Matty Raymond with Josh Micklemore in 14th. 15th was Paul Jackson with Luke Trahere 16th. 17th, Mirko Dornak with James Robbie in 18th. 19th was Stephen Williams with Phil Otto 20th. 21st was Riley Curtis with Scott Griffiths in 22nd. 23rd, Greg Spencer with Joshua Carroll in 24th. 25th, Norman Clark with David Stockton in 26th. 27th was Dwayne Priest with Adam Rozelle 28th. 29th, Andrew Dyson, and out early Philip Worley in 30th.
Yeah, well, that turned out to be a hell of a race in the end, Carl, and those last 10, 15 laps certainly threw everything up in the air and made for some great viewing and some great entertainment.
Yeah, that brought us a brilliant finish. Green White Checkers often do, but that was an absolute crazy finish. And we'll start off with the biggest mover of the night, the man that gained 27 positions in this race, Mr. Ruben Phelps. Welcome back to the booth, Ruben. Congratulations on that P3 finish.
How's it going, Carl? It shocked me to get there, telling you.
What a run from you, first of all. I mean, obviously not a good qualifying for yourself.
Yeah, I had a wee bit of a wreck during the qualifying, but luckily I was locked in from the safety, so I had to start from the rear, and all I had to do was manage my tyres and just slowly move my way up. I actually got to about 12th position before that first yellow there, and then I started about 12th again, and then got involved in that first incident. I've been running with front end damage and a bit of push for the majority of that race. Couldn't even quite crack the top 10 until that last caution that seemed to come out with 5 laps to go there.
Yeah, we did notice that. We were talking about your big gains early in the race, and then that big first or second incident, first I think it was, that caught you out, and we saw you get caught up in that one. As you said, there quite a bit of front end damage, and that must have made it quite tricky getting around. I mean, how much harder is it driving one of these cars with damage?
Well, it's not so bad, depending on if you've got the RPM is a little off, then you're obviously not going to get anywhere. But if you've got the front end, it'll feel fine for the first initial 25 laps, but then you really start feeling the tyres burning because it's just the aero's just not reacting to the track very well. But I mean, other than that, it was not too bad, but it definitely burnt the tyres up.
No, it didn't look too easy, but again, a great performance by you. And we've seen it through the season. We've seen you doing some good performances. I know up in the top 5 for you, which is great to see. And yeah, you must be pretty happy, despite it being a pretty tough race, to manage to finish in 3rd from 30th. It's must be a pretty decent feeling.
Oh, yeah, I think the last time I got the podium, I started dead last as well, so it's becoming a trait.
I maybe start last in future, and we'll see you up in front for the next time. No, congratulations on that finish, Ruben. Before I let you go, of course, the usual shout out and love to sponsors.
Well, I've got a shout out to RP Motorsport, my own team now. So, got a thing in the Hot Wheels car. Of course, the most majority of people think it's a good best paint scheme out there. But other than that, I've got a shout out to Mum. She usually sits there and watches. So, hi, Mum.
No, congratulations. As we said,
and a shout out to you guys.
Oh, you're always welcome. A lot of people have mentioned it on that car livery and do love it very much. And big hello to your mum as well. Thank you so much, Ruben. Next up, we will grab Mr. Neil Pearson. Nice to have you back in the booth, Neil, for DPR. It's good to have you back up here. Didn't look like you were going to make it into the top 3 with about 6 laps to go. Very, very nasty incident there, but P2, you must be pretty happy with that after that incident.
Yeah, with the incident, I'm pretty happy. I was surprised. I thought I was going to be back at the 10 or something, or yeah, the car was a bit damaged. So yeah, just
gonna have to ask you, of course, because it looked like the back end just completely lost it on you with that incident with yourself and Scully. Obviously, a lot of pressure coming from Scully behind you with that racing, and we saw some brilliant driving from you as well, catching up to Josh Micklemore as well. It looked like you were sort of just biding your time early in that race, and you're sort of getting up there and getting up in the lead, but just looked like the back end just completely lost its love for you there.
Yeah, I popped the right rear, which is, I think, the same thing happened to Micklemore as well when I got past him about 20 laps earlier. I knew it was going to be tough based on the previous stint, and I just got a bit over eager. I was just trying hard to keep up with Micklemore, and I should have just paced myself a bit more. I'm a bit disappointed with how I drove. I think I should have been a bit more patient, and big apologies to Skirley for taking him out. I mean, it wasn't anything I could do with the right rear popping, but yeah, it's just disappointing.
Yeah, it's not the way you want to end a race, especially when you've been having such good racing there. But we knew tyres were going to be hard tonight, and we did we did mention a couple of times as well about tyres going pop as well. So obviously that's the main reason for it. But it looked like, as I said, you had some good runs out there as well, and you were pretty much up there all night as well with pace.
Yeah, Dover's a good track. It's just a big Bristol, really. It's good fun. It's track I've usually done well at. So I like the tracks where it's a bit looser and you got to control the car a bit more. I seem to do a bit better there. like Darlington, I was pretty quick. I just got involved in some stuff. So
at the end of the day, a good finish considering what happened. That could have been a lot worse for you. So it's good that you got the finish in the end there. So congratulations on the P2, and obviously there's going to be good news for championship standing because I mean you're up there in the top 3 fighting away still. So good news in that respect, but not the finish you would have wanted, I'm sure. But congratulations again on that P2 finish, and as usual, shout out and love the sponsors.
yeah, thanks. It's good. I made some ground on the guys in front of me because they got involved in my stuff. But yeah, just you guys for the great broadcast. I'm going to go watch it and watch myself take everyone out. Simrigs.com, Southwell Lifts and Hoists, Benmax Mechanical, BetSmart Racing Services, NP Designs, DPI Racing. My teammates, they were really helping me out. Unfortunately, they got involved in something else earlier, so they were helping me out with spotting and whatnot. And most importantly, my girlfriend, Linda, it's her birthday today, and she let me off the hook to come race. So I'm really appreciative of that. So I'll make it up to her all weekend.
Happy birthday, Linda, and congratulations on that PT. Thanks so much, Neil.
Thanks, mate.
And next up, we will grab the purple Mitch Motorsport car, the number 21, and his first appearance at the top of the charts for the Cup Series this year, something that I am surprised to be saying. Mr. Jason Martin. Jason, welcome back to the booth.
Oh, yeah. Finally got that Cup win.
It's been a bit of time, Jason, since we've seen you up the top for the Cup. But it's been a long time coming. Obviously, you've had a bit of a rough start to the season, but it's come good right now, and it's great to have you back in the booth.
Absolutely stoked to get a win. Yeah, had some decent results and then some real poor results, but stoked to finally get a win.
It's been a good week for you, all in all, and a good week for the team as well. Obviously, 2 1-2 finishes for Mitch Motorsport this week in ANZCAR, and yourself taking out the victory in the first round of the Truck Series. Maybe a bit of turn in luck for you right here.
Well, I've had bad luck for most of the series so far, so had to turn around sooner or later.
It can only get better when it's at its worst, I suppose. But no, a really good drive from you tonight. Obviously, looked like you were struggling a little bit out there at some stages. Were you just sort of keeping the car relatively, just not pushing too hard, just to keep it to the end of the stint, or was it just a little bit of a struggle out there?
I could have pushed it as hard as the guys in front of me if I wanted to, but I knew if we were going to get a long 70, 80 lap run, I knew I had to look after the tyres because otherwise they could pop on me. So I tried to look after them and then catch them on a long run.
Yeah, it's sort of, I thought that might be the case because, you sort of had a good position up there with teammates surrounding you as well. With Danny G and Hamish Gallagher, we sort of saw the Mitch Motorsport boys having a good run up at the front for the majority of the race, and obviously that little bit of tyre saving, it can pay off quite well here at Dover, which obviously it did for you tonight. That green-white checker, though, did that have you biting your nails a little bit?
Oh, it sure was. I was spewing that there was yellow. I think I could have got past Neil and probably Michael Skurlock if it stayed green for the 10 laps or whatever was left, because I knew they were about to pop their tyres. So, I didn't want a green-white checker. I didn't want to see any yellows.
No, well, we were hoping for it to remain green, but the green-white checker did definitely bring up a little bit more drama to the booth. Obviously, when you're starting on the outside, you must have had a little wry smile knowing, I mean, Foster on the inside obviously couldn't get in to change tyres, and you could see Pearson behind you with that damage. It must have been a little bit of a relief once you finally got past Foster and sort of had that little bit of clean air.
Yeah, I was a bit nervous on the start. I know Neil got real close to me, so I don't know how close, but it looked extremely close. But yeah, once I got clear, I was pretty sure I had it in the bag unless there was a quick yellow again.
Yeah, it paid off at the end. We would have loved to have seen you get that win with the green to the end as well. But congratulations on another victory in the ANZCAR series. But the first one in the 2021 Cup series, of course. Hopefully, it will be the start of many for you.
Yeah, maybe, but I doubt it. There's too much competition these days, so I'll just be happy to get top 3s and top 5s now.
Well, it's not a bad position to be in, getting a win right here and keeping in that top 5 position. We've seen 4 top 5s from you this year alone. Of course, you're up there in 4th position in the championship as of tonight. As of yesterday. Well, before this session. So you're still doing well championship wise, as is what we kind of expected. We know you're a bit of a monster out there and a bit of a beast to be on consistency. But the win must definitely help you forwards and make you feel a little bit happier carrying on.
Yeah, it sure does.
Wonderful. Thank you so much, Jason. Before I let you go, of course, the usual love and shout out to all of your sponsors.
First off, Josh, bad luck, mate. I thought he was going to win that. He was pulling away for a while, and I thought he was looking good for the win, so bad luck there. Boys at Mitch Motorsports, another good result for most of us. BK Designs, and of course FGM eCast for doing the broadcast, and ANZCAR for putting on the series.
Now, as always, you're always welcome with the broadcast, because when you give us action like that, it makes it much easier to talk about. Thank you so much, Jason Martin from Mitch Motorsport. We will hopefully have you back in the booth in a very short time.
Ooh, thanks, mate.
And great little bits of great drifting out there as well for the end of that one.
Love it when it's loose and you can drift it a bit.
Thanks so much, Jason. So, another great cup race there, Lockie. That was a very close finish and very, very tricky at the end there, with some tyres going off completely and blowing on some cars as well.
Yeah, I think we sort of called it before the race. We'd say if they ran it around about that 70, 75 laps, people start to run out of tyres. And as we saw in the end there, that 75 lap mark, Pearson blew the tyres and caused the big wreck. So we got what we asked for almost, but it certainly was one hell of a finish and very enjoyable to watch in the end. And it was a good race in the end. I think I'll look forward to next week now.
No, absolutely, and it's nice when things that we actually call turn out to be right, because it almost looks like we know what we're talking about sometimes.
Yeah, well, a little bit of research definitely doesn't go awry anyway.
No, absolutely, and thank you again for coming up into the booth. And if you haven't heard, Lockie's injured his knee, so unfortunately unable to drive at the moment, but with his loss out on the track, we gain up here in the booth, having that bit more knowledge up here, and we wish you a speedy recovery, of course, but thank you very much for being up here.
Yeah, 2 weeks at the moment, so hopefully not too long now, but definitely going to enjoy my time up here while I can.
No, that's awesome. Thank you so much. And of course, we have much more coming up for you here on FGM eCast. We are now streaming 4 nights a week on the weekdays. We have, of course, the ANZCAR Cup, the ANZCAR Truck Series coming up next. Season 2 of that has started. Pocono was the first round, and as you heard, Jason Martin taking out that first win. We're off to Knoxville next, 130 laps on a very short track, very different track to run around. That will be on Monday night, so the 17th. Then after that, we have the Oz Pro-Am Series, where we are heading off to Long Beach. Yes, thank you. I was just waiting for my ears to talk there. Long Beach. Very tricky street track. It's going to be one heck of a race, so make sure to join us for that one. The GT cars around Long Beach is going to be something special, an awesome track, and going to be an interesting one in that respect. Then we have, of course, Thunder on Wednesdays now. I keep almost saying Thursday Night Thunder from a force of habit from many years ago, but Wednesday Night Thunder here on the FGM eCast. We will be going to the Circuit of the Americas, COTA, for 23 laps on May the 19th. So a street circuit in those Xfinity cars. Going to be a very different track. And that's going to lead us nicely into the 20th of May for the Cup Series here, where we will be also heading to the Circuit of the Americas, COTA, for 30 laps. good warm-up for the Cup drivers driving in the Thunder Series, of course. It gives you a little bit of an idea of what the track's like. Very different beast, these cars, on a proper racetrack like COTA, isn't it, Lockie?
Yeah, they're definitely very, very difficult to drive around there. I know a few weeks ago, back when we first announced that we were going to COTA right at the start of the season, I took a few cars out and just had a bit of a muck around, and there's not a lot of grip there. These things have got next to no grip around that circuit. Thunder, Trucks, Cup, they're going to really struggle, and it's definitely going to make for some entertaining racing, and it's going to be one hell of a race to watch, I reckon.
It's going to be exciting, so looking forward to that. So hopefully we will see you all next week for that. And a big thank you, as always, to AJ Insurance, the AJ Insurance Company, for sponsoring FGM eCars, helping us bring you all of the action here tonight. Always a help from them. And, of course, to Stuart Brown up in the box, giving us the cameras working. And to all of you for watching. Without you watching, we could not carry on. So a big thank you, and make sure to touch that subscribe button and hit the like as well. Just help us out a little bit for the future. But from myself, Carl Withy, from Lachlan Okio, and of course Stuart Brown up in the camera room, we give you a big thanks, and we will see you all on Monday, hopefully. Bye-bye.